Okay, it's prep period at the end of the day. This flute needs some repair, according to my co-teacher. That's all I got. Let's see what happens. Okay, so on the underside of the pads in the flutes, there are these resonators in the center. You can see the outer edge is a yellow foam pad, and then the center, that's metal. And right there, there's a good shot of a screw that holds the resonator in place. So the pad screw is missing. I have to inspect and figure out where it came from. As you can see, all these are in place. So I turn it over. Inspect the rest of the keys. I found that this one is actually missing. You can see the yellow pad foam of the pad goes all the way to the center where there's a hole that the screw of the resonator sits to keep the pad in place. Without that part, the resonator is missing, so it will affect the sound of the note, and also the pad could fall out easier. This is a miracle. We found the pad screw with the resonator attached. That's the screw. That's my pinky nail. So you can see the size of the resonator and the screw in the center. That screw actually is, that's the size of the screw that comes out of the resonator. So if we lost that, we'd be ordering more or waiting for them to arrive. Now to reinsert the screw into the pad where it belongs, I have to disassemble this mechanism. This is the A flat key on the flute. You can see it's connected to a host of other items. These keys came out with this rod going through them, so they have to be assembled in the same manner that they were removed. And for me to continue taking this off, I really need to remove this entire assembly here to be able to get at this screw with the post for the A flat key. However, I've noticed a shortcut that looking directly through the instrument, I can see the pad missing the resonator. So I'm going to go ahead and insert it right through the body of the instrument and save myself a whole lot of time and headache. Now here with a little bit of gravity assistance. I happen to drop that in there pretty close. I should be able to nudge it in place with my screwdriver. And now it's just going to be a matter of finding the hole for that screw to sit in and replace it. I actually managed to get the screw in the hole. I'm just going to continue driving it in. And voila. I have to reassemble the mechanism that I removed. Okay, so these keys are back reattached in the correct order, and I'm just gonna drive that rod through with my little screwdriver until it catches on this end of this post where the screw is threaded. Okay, now this is a case of the keys being back in place now, but you can see that they're not remaining in the open position as they're supposed to, and that is because these springs are out of place. So the spring, this spring in particular, needs to be behind a post that's underneath this adjustment screw. So using a spring hook tool, or in this case my screwdriver, I'm going to push it to the correct side, and now that tension allows this key to remain in the open position. And this spring needs to be behind that plate. And there's a catch for it in there. There you can see. That catch is where that spring sits. And before, it was on the outer side. Excuse me. Before, it was on the outer side of that plate. Now that I shoved it behind there with my screwdriver, this key remains in the open position as well after being depressed. Now, once I put this back together, I could see that these keys are supposed to close sympathetically. When the G key is pressed, this should press as well for intonation purposes. And I can see that when I press the G key, there's a little bit of space. This key is not making a good seal. It can still be pressed down farther. And that's where this adjustment screw is important, because as this key is pressed down, it should sympathetically move this key, and they should close in tandem. Now, if I want this key to close further when this one is pressed, I drive this screw in further against that plate, and it will come down at the correct distance. You have a little tiny turn. And check my work. Still use a touch more. Now it's making a good seal. The one thing you have to be careful of is if you drive this screw in too far, then this will close before this one does. So there's a perfect balance of where they close perfectly together. It looks like I've gone a little bit too far, because now you can see that when this one closes, there's a little gap there. So I'll reverse my screw a little bit. Now that seems to be just right. And of course, the best test will be when I play it, that the notes all come out nice and smoothly.